Hello and welcome. This is TVC News Hour. I am Ikechukwu, Obienu.
I am Azizat Olaoluwa.
I am William Isi Dada.
I am Marco Tabo with sports.
The headlines. African leaders to vote new AU chair deliberate on Morocco's membership. Kenya military intensifies air and ground operations targeting Al-Shabaab camps in southern Somalia. Trump's immigration ban is generating heated fuss across the world.
In business, Tanzania to get a $300 million World Bank loan for port expansion.
And in sports, Ivory Coast FA begins search for a new coach as Michel Doussouya steps down after AFCON exit.
Glad to have you join us. Outgoing African Union Commission Chair Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma used her last address to congratulate ECOWAS for its intervention in the Gambia.
Dlamini-Zuma congratulated, of course, the President Johnson Sirleaf Erling for upholding democratic values of the AU during the negotiations in the country. President Adama Barrow had confirmed his attendance at the summit in Addis Ababa, but he has not arrived. Dlamini-Zuma said ECOWAS made the continent proud.
A heartfelt gratitude to ECOWAS, who under your leadership made us all proud.
And African leaders are gathered to elect African Union chairperson, also to re-examine key issues. TVC News correspondent is standing by at the moment. That's Voldy Karelsa to give us further updates on that. Voldy, so we understand Dlamini-Zuma had another go at Donald Trump and his refugee ban. Could you tell us what she said exactly?
Well, I came with a very strong statement from outgoing chairperson Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. We had expected African leaders to speak about this refugee ban, and she certainly didn't disappoint. She said it's ironic that the continent from which slaves were shipped to that country should now ban refugees. Of course, it will affect people from Libya, refugees from Somalia, as well as Sudan, because those are predominantly Muslim countries. And so she said that this is the greatest test, this refugee ban is the greatest test of our solidarity. And that's just a word from Dlamini-Zuma on Trump's refugee ban. But we are expecting other African leaders to speak about this. It is obviously something very concerning for the continent.
Now, Kenya and the United Nations have agreed on a deal to restore their fractured relations caused by a dispute over military deployment in South Sudan, the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. The meeting focused on peacekeeping, peace and security within the region, with focus on Kenya's role, as well as events in South Sudan, Somalia and Burundi. Although Kenya withdrew its troops from a United Nations mission in South Sudan last year after its mission commander was withdrawn without consultation with the Kenyan leadership. David Azarenka, African Affairs Analyst, joins us now live via Skype to talk more about this. David, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, do we have details of the new deal between the United Nations and Kenya, or the new terms of engagement at the moment that resulted in the repair of the fractured relations?
Well, actually, no. The details are supposed to be worked out afterwards, but the general idea is that Kenya will re-engage in peacekeeping work in South Sudan and also return to working on trying to make peace in South Sudan. And it seems like they're going to be offered a position as head of the Darfur peacekeeping work.
And that's what we are hearing, indeed, that the Kenyan mission was going to head the Darfur command. And seems to be a fresh start, really, between the Kenyan government and the United Nations now. But do you believe that Kenya will do right this time around, since we don't even know the offense the mission commander committed in the first place?
Well, I thought that their withdrawal was rather precipitous without due consideration. I mean, a peaceful, secure, prosperous South Sudan would be very beneficial for Kenya. So consequently, they really need to be engaged in South Sudan. And it was sort of like an emotional response to withdraw so quickly when the general was charged with not supporting the United Nations when the violence broke out in Juba end of last year. So I think that it's a reversal of a rather poor decision on the part of Kenya.
All right, help us put in bird's eye view. How important is the role, is Kenya's role in the fight against insurgency within the region?
Well, you're talking about the whole region or just South Sudan? Their biggest presence, of course, is in Somalia, and that's, of course, a completely different situation where Kenyan troops are being killed rather frequently in large attacks. But in South Sudan, there needs to be the kind of peacekeeping that's much more traditional for the United Nations and the AU in just keeping the sides apart and being there and a presence so that when something does happen, that there's a way to make a response and to protect citizens and civilians and move forward. So I think that Kenya has a real strong reason to be in South Sudan.
All right, David Zarenka, African Affairs Analyst, we must thank you very much indeed for your time.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.